Hey folks, it's Eric from Support Adventure, and in this video I'm going to talk about why I do not like working from co-working spaces, why I would prefer to be somewhere else, basically anywhere else than in a co-working space while I'm working. Now, this is a very personal thing because a lot of digital nomads really, I guess, love co-working spaces and at least enough that they'll pay to be a member of them. They want to be surrounded by like-minded people. They want to meet new people with common interests and all this sort of stuff. And so do I. But for me and my personality type, I would prefer to work alone in an Airbnb like this. I'm in an Airbnb right now in Thailand on an island. There's a pool outside, there's lush vegetation, and there's nobody else in the room as I make this video except myself. And this is a really good sort of setup because, yeah, I have to make these videos. I need to make I need to make things happen on video, on Zoom, have conversations, meetings, and stuff like that. And, if I were to do this in a co-working space, people get pissed off because I'm too loud, right? So that's number one. I mean, unless I had my own like private little room in the co-working space, basically a private office, it wouldn't work. And yeah, then there's also the type of work that I do when I'm focusing on my task on my laptop, writing an email, writing, different pieces of structured documents that govern my business and, working on issues that have come in to help people out with whatever it is. And it really benefits from a focus, which I don't really have when I'm in a co-working space. Now, one of the reasons I started Support Adventure, this remote working company, is because I hated offices. I hated having to go somewhere, especially these open office ones, where I would sit in a room with other people while I'm working. I hated it, especially people who were from, the same company I was working with, who you almost had an obligation to talk to, make small talk, acknowledge each other, and all this sort of stuff. All of that really took away from my focus. And one time for 8.5 months, I had a full-time job where I had to go to an office in London, UK for, 8.5 months. I had to go there every Monday to Friday, on and on and on. And I actually ended up hiding in a storage room for computer parts where I set up my own phone. They could call me. I don't mind talking to people. I don't mind making small talk. I don't mind getting to know people, but there's a time and a place for that. Whereas when you're in an office in a room with other people, you end up getting in conversation, you end up hearing them talking on the phone, you end up hearing them typing, you end up hearing their conversations, they end up interrupting you, saying stuff, offering you donuts, I don't know. And it wasn't conducive to my best focus, which came when I was alone and I was able to let my mind go into the different world that it goes into to find solutions to different problems of systems, computer systems, people systems, systems of work, and all that sort of stuff. And so I almost feel like, yeah, I hated offices so much. I started this company so I could work from my own apartment. Now it's in Thailand. Used to be in Belgrade, Serbia. When I started the business, that's where I was based, and it was great. I can work at home. I can slow cook stews. I can be alone and only talk to people when I need to for work. Otherwise, I've got my own focus doing my own thing. So a co-working space is like, a place where these digital nomads go to sit next to each other while they're working. And they tend to be like office-like environments where they're trying to emulate that stuff, except for you're usually not going to be working in the same company or on the same project as the person who's sitting next to you. It's not really useful to have them sitting next to you. So you end up getting this feeling that there's just a bunch of people there focused that don't want to be interrupted, that you can't, get on a call or you'd interrupt them. You can't talk to them. But then there's also this added layer that a lot of people actually go to these places so they can make new friends. So it's kind of like a dichotomy of like, with a little cognitive dissonance, like, should I talk to people? Should I not talk to people? Should I acknowledge them? Should I not acknowledge them? Should we be focusing on our computers? Should we be socializing? What's going on here? And so, yeah, the mix of work and sort of pleasure in a co-working space, I don't like it. But, it's strange. I do like going to sit in cafes and work in cafes because there's no pretext of that people are not going to talk. There's not that sort of tension of silence there, and there's not a bunch of people looking up annoyed every time you make a noise, because that's what people do in cafes. I like being in a cafe, listening to people socializing, having a good time. Well, I'm sitting there working and focusing on my stuff because yeah, it's kind of like a social atmosphere. And I think I get from cafes what a lot of people think they're going to get out of co-working spaces. But for the Zoom calls, for the videos like this, I mean, it's much better for me to be like have my own space, and that usually means the apartment. At Support Adventure, my tech support company, what we do when we're training staff is we will go into a place like Colombia or Thailand or you name it, different places, and we'll rent Airbnb apartment spaces. And if you need to work with someone for a few days, like for a few days, you're working on the same project, there's a training going on, you have knowledge to transfer to them. That's works great. We all sit in an Airbnb around a kitchen table or whatever and help each other with the job and train, we train new computer technicians. That works great. I love that. But it's not a permanent thing for me. Like I'm an introverted person in general. And so co-working spaces are not for me. Tell me what you think. Do you think they are for you? Do you think that you can actually focus better? Do you enjoy the environment of other people focusing around you on stuff, or do you find them distracting like I do? Because yeah, I'm very sensitive to people's energies, and when there's someone sitting next to me, I can't help but think about them and their feelings and their emotions and stuff like that. And I'd prefer to be alone when I don't want to think about that stuff and sort of focus on my work and only be talking to the people I need to talk to, sending people emails, getting on Zoom calls, and that sort of stuff. So tell me what you think in the comments. Do you feel like me about co-working, or do you think co-working places are the best thing since like sliced bread? Let me know. Thanks a lot. Eric, Support Adventure, subscribe.